Yes, good evening and welcome to the Boise Bus Tuesday Ticket. I am your host, David Logue, and as always, when I'm on this bus, can't go anywhere without my wee buddy Phil. Phil, you've joined me again today. Shock.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Not bad. Maybe dignified Tuesday blender ticket, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I'm glad to be on again, mate. Glad to be stalking you. You know, as you alluded to there. Yes, everywhere you seem to go on this bus, I'm right there alongside you. But always happy to be on with you, mate.
Yeah, I'm your baby reindeer.
Oh God.
I've not watched that show, by the way. I think that's what they call it. Anyway, we'll forget about that, right? We are a wee bit later than we planned to do. It's usually we said about 8 o'clock. Yeah, that was what we said. But you know, the bus is all over the shop, and I've literally just ran in the door there now, grabbed something to eat, and I've jumped on. So here you go. But before we get started, we've got all that good stuff to do. So give us a like, give us a share, slag the hair, all that. Carry on. Become a Boise Bus member for a small cost of $1.99. All the content is absolutely free. That's just your choice. If you want to help support the bus, you can do that by becoming a Boise Bus member, like so many of you have done. Hit that wee bell button, subscribe, like, share, all that kind of stuff. And piesports.com. Get on there, get your tasty piece of treats. 2.5% off at the checkout with the code BUS1888. Now, yes, Pat, what here? Yes. Yes. Cheers.
Indeed.
It
was very topical last Tuesday, to be fair, wasn't it?
Yeah, he tried to steal the show with that one. I think, tried to steal the thunder of the Tuesday ticket. He did well. Good for him as well. It's brave. People, listen, doing that kind of stuff was a bit of a taboo. It's not so much anymore. And good on if that makes you feel more confident, then go ahead and get that done. I'd love to do it, but it's finding the time and the cash to do it.
Yeah.
Anywho, we're not here to plug hair transplants. We're not James McFadden and Wayne Rooney. What we are here to do, though, is discuss all the news, the gossip, the hearsay that surrounds Celtic Football Club. There's lots of it's silly season, as we said already.
Oh yes.
We had lots to talk about last week, and of course, we've got lots to talk about this week, Phil. But one thing I wanted to talk about quickly before we get into the big business of transfer dealings is, remember I asked last week what our thoughts were on this year's kit launch.
Yes.
And I asked the question, I wonder if they went back to a more of a traditional look because maybe they didn't bring in as much revenue with a more Marmite kit. Well, that theory was completely blown out of the water today because for the first time since 2003, there is a Scottish club in Europe's top 20 for revenue brought in through kit sales and merchandise.
Jeez.
Yep, Celtic's deal with Adidas has seen them propelled into 17th place in the 23-24 season with 34 million euros worth of sales, and in part thanks to kits being on sale in the official Adidas outlets throughout the globe, as well as over here in the UK. You could find the Celtic kit in Adidas shops around the world, in the US, Australia, Japan, and Korea. So yeah, we're actually above the likes of Inter Milan in terms of cash revenue brought in on kits alone, and that's despite this previous season's kit being such a Marmite kit.
Yep.
It just goes to show that how big the brand of Celtic Football Club is, and it doesn't really matter what they want to put out.
If you build it, they will come.
Yes.
Yes.
So, what the most important thing, Phil, is if we're going to be competing and being in the top 20 of football clubs in terms of revenue brought in on kits alone, then there's less and less excuses out there as to why we aren't competing with bigger European leagues and teams in terms of signing players.
Yeah, definitely. And it's as you say about the kit, the previous season one, it was very Marmite. It was a bit out there, but yeah, people still go out and buy it. Some of the countries you listed there, it shows you the reach Celtic have got right now. obviously a lot of the transfers that we've made in the last couple of years, I think, have helped that as well. It's the board knew what they were doing, other than bringing in a player like Kyogo, who's good, that gets our exposure out there. You'll see Celtic kits out in the Far East now. It's a good business move. And funny enough, just speaking on the kit, Stephen Kennedy says that the new one is ace. I saw it in person last week. I was in the store in Argyle Street and saw it on the mannequins. And I mean, I thought it looked good anyway, but seeing it in person, I was like, well, that is a nice one. So yeah, looking forward to getting a hold of that in a few weeks' time once it's launched.
Yeah, I mean, it says here in this article that it's our most successful selling kit in terms of revenue brought in our kit's history. So the new kit, which I think is far more popular amongst the fans than last one's was. So if that one brought in 34 million euros worth of sales, then this one could totally surpass that. But definitely. I just wanted to bring it up since we were talking about it last week, and it answered my question as to maybe why they went back to a more traditional look. But as it shows there that it didn't matter at all. We didn't. They absolutely smashed the.
Well done, Adidas. Well done. Great design. Adidas. Never doubted you. Never doubted you.
Never in doubt. Never in doubt at all. Now, another one that doesn't seem to be too much in doubt is Paulo Bernardo's, where he stands in terms of where he wants to be playing his football next season. And I think he's made no secret of it that he wants to come back to Glasgow. Phil, how likely is it that Celtic will pull the trigger and get Bernardo back in? And will they be paying the $6 million that was quoted at the beginning of the season? Or will Celtic do what Celtic does and try and get him in on a cut price deal? And can you see that deal happening?
I can see the deal happening. I can definitely see Bernardo being a Celtic player next season. The trying to lowball them and whatnot, I think it's more a case of what they don't pay up front, they'll make up for it in some sort of like clauses where Benfica might be happy to take, a certain amount off the initial price, but they'll make up for it in some way with the sell-on price where we'll take a bigger cut of the percentage. That's how I think they'll balance out. I don't think it's a case of Celtic will get it down to 3 million and that'll be the end of it. There'll have to be a caveat somewhere for Benfica, and I think it'll happen. Supposedly the player has already been told that he isn't in Benfica's plans next season. And for me, I think it makes all the sense in the world to get it done. I think he's a tidy enough player. I think he would benefit from obviously a prolonged run of games. That was his problem last season, where when he did play, I always felt he was okay. It was points where he had some unbelievable moments, scoring the goal against Rangers, obviously, immortalised him forever. He's in Celtic folklore forever, scoring in a derby victory. But yeah, there was a wee run around about that time where, a bit of a purple patch, but then again, it's like he drops out the team for a few games, comes back in. It's never going to do a player much good. But with the way the midfield was last season, once we got Hatate back to full fitness, it was Hatate, O'Reilly, McGregor all the way. You still have to expect, even though obviously it's not confirmed yet, but I think most fans are expecting that Matt O'Reilly won't be here next season. But hey, you never know. You never know. But if he isn't here, I think it makes all the sense in the world for Bernardo to be here as, somebody that can come in and plug that gap, because he's obviously played here for a year, so he's already acclimatised to it all. However, I will say this, he is a good start, but he shouldn't be the end of it. There should definitely be another midfielder bought, because after McGregor, Hatate, Bernardo, the options kind of go down steeply after that. Iwata is showing he's an all right enough hand. Thiago Holm, who knows where he stands right now. And yeah, Danny Kelly looks like he's not renewing his contract and he's going to be leaving. And then you've got the James McCarthy, the myth that is James McCarthy. He ain't getting a game anytime soon. So yeah, I do think that Bernardo's a good start in that area, but I definitely think we need another body of some midfielder of some kind to come in during the window as well.
I wouldn't like to say that he would be the ready-made replacement for O'Reilly, and I think there's a few fans, certainly no Mark on the bus, doesn't like the idea of him being the ready-made replacement. I don't think that. I think you're right in saying that he certainly is a start in terms of bringing in, but I don't know if I want him to. I don't want to necessarily say he is the replacement for O'Reilly. Stephen Ray has asked the question: is $6.5 million really an outrageous price for the Portugal under-21s captain? When you say it like that, if you were just to read that, $6.5 million for the Portugal's under-21 captain, no, it's not an outrageous price at all. If I was to say to you, "Oh, we're getting a guy that played a bit part, played 22 games, he scored 3 goals and got 3 assists, and they're wanting 6, and they played 6 games in the Champions League, but didn't really do much there at all," would you be happy to pay $6.5 million? That's when it becomes a difficult one. Personally, I would pay the money because I don't think $6.5 million is an outrageous price, and it's not an outrageous price in today's market. I would like to see a wee bit more out of, a little purple patch in a season.
Yeah, totally.
I'm being honest, but I think he's more than capable of it.
Yeah.
Hence why I would be willing to take the risk. I mean, it's not my money to spend, therefore I am willing to take the risk. But say it was my money, I would be willing to take this because I do feel that what we've seen a glimpse of in that purple patch is that's what we would certainly get more out of that. And I think you're right, Phil. Like you said, you said it on the Friday feeling, I think, that he would benefit from our run of games, which is a total cliche, but sometimes cliches are cliches because they're true. And I think he probably did suffer from the fact that when Hatate came back, he was instantly going to be ahead of him in the pecking order, and rightfully so. And obviously O'Reilly is O'Reilly, and there's no questions asked there. He is going to be ahead of him. But yeah, $6.5 million, is it an outrageous amount of money for Bernardo? I don't think so, Phil. I don't think so.
No, in this day and age, definitely not. And given the money that Celtic have, then I think it's more than feasible that we pay it. And I think when the day comes that he has to move on, I think we can definitely make profit on that. And that is, of course, what the board are always thinking about, is profit and sell-on value. I think he's definitely got that. So, yeah, he is the type of guy that will, if he gets a prolonged run in the team and is made to feel like, you are a starter, and made to feel loved, essentially. Brendan Rodgers can put him on that pedestal and make him feel like you are important to this team. He plays week in, week out. I think he'll only get better. I think he will. And yes, for me, he's definitely somebody that I would be looking to bring in. But I think there needs to be another midfield option because I say right now, once you take, we expect O'Reilly's going to leave, even though nothing's official yet. But being realistic, a lot of fans expect it to happen. After that, McGregor, Hatate, Bernardo, and then, if one of them gets injured, suspended, Iwata maybe comes in. He had his moments last season, but then after that, where does Odin Thiago home in this pecking order? James McCarthy and Danny Kelly ain't going to get in a game, so it looks like we definitely need another option in there in midfield, and that could be where we look at one of the young Scottish players in the SPFL. We're talking about the homegrown players to tick boxes for UEFA. Could it be one of those types of players that we look at there, as to bring in as a sort of fourth choice or whatever, just as he'll get a game here and there, he can develop with the first team squad? That might be the type of option we look at. But yeah, it needs to be more than just Bernardo when we're looking in that area this summer.
Well, speaking of which, we are apparently been looking at a Swiss, a young under-21 player. I'm going to try and pronounce his name. It's Alvin Sanchez.
Well done. That's it.
Alvin there we go. Paddy Boy's number 2. Just like we're all on sync here. So Celtic are keen on the highly rated Swiss midfielder Alvin Sanchez after an extensive scouting through the 2023-24 season. Stoke City and Coventry City are also apparently admirers, and there's plenty of interest elsewhere in Europe. Now, he plays for Lausanne. Is that how pronounced? Is that you
Lausanne? Yep.
Lausanne. Who are valuing him around $4 million. Phil, I don't know anything about him at all. I've got nothing really to judge him on. I can't help but get this little feeling that it stinks of another Thiago home situation here, where it's talent playing in Europe with a big price tag with nothing to base it on. No doubt he's probably on some list that he's one of the best youngsters coming through in Europe, and we'll beat Coventry City to signing him and then not see him play. I'm only it sounds negative as anything, based on absolutely nothing other than the experience that we had last season. But do you know anything about this boy at all, other than the fact that he is an under-21 player in the Swiss League? He's only played 84 games in his professional career, scoring 14 goals and 7 assists. So he's kind of burst on the scene, I suppose you could say. And he's made 9 appearances for the under-21s and under-20s combined.
Can't say I know anything about him. Like many of us, unless you're some absolute connoisseur of Swiss football, and that's very hipstery if you are. Fair play if you do watch it, but I don't think many of us can put our hands up and say we're experts on that one. Again, I always have an open book approach with this type of stuff, where I understand what Stephen Ray's saying there. I understand what you're saying about Thiago Holm, drawing the comparisons. The word project has been thrown around a lot. But again, I'm a bit of an open book, because again, these guys can come in and could be amazing. They might not be. I always want to see them play first for Celtic. I've used these examples so many times, so many shows, where nobody's heard the guys, like when we signed Virgil van Dijk and Victor Wanyama and whatnot. And I know maybe they weren't, Wanyama was really young, actually, if I remember correctly. Wanyama was under 21 years old, I'm sure, when we signed him. But again, yeah, I don't really judge it on the fact I've not heard of the guy, if he's going to be good or not. It's once I see him actually playing for Celtic and see how he performs in a Celtic jersey, that's when I'll make my mind up. So at the moment, obviously, he sounds like he's quite exciting with all the different characteristics he's got, all the boxes that he ticks. But again, it's one of these ones, if it comes to fruition and we get him, then yeah, we'll just see what he brings. But of course, the key is he has to get game time. That's the thing that Thiago Holmes suffered from this season, where this time last year when we signed him, I had a similar approach. I was like, bit exciting here. Youngster could be, if he gets the time on the park, well, what can we see from him? But his time's been limited. And if we sign this boy, which is for a bigger price than what we played for Thiago Holm, then yeah, you've got to imagine he would get a bit more game time. Because what you're talking about, 4 million, did you say, was the rumoured price?
That's what they apparently are after. That's what they're 4 million for a player. I don't know, mate. It's when when I was saying there that it's easy to say when it's not your money, but even when it's not my money, I'm just like 4 million on a boy that's. I think Stephen Ray's right. It just screams project to me, mate. I'm not. And by the way, I take on board exactly what you're saying. Like, nobody had heard of Wanyama. What was he, 19 when he signed for us?
He was definitely under 21 anyway.
Yeah, definitely I think he was 19. I mean, and nobody's seen that one coming. I mean, Frimpong, another perfect example. I think the only thing that was going to go for Frimpong was he was a Man City youth player. Am I right?
See, when we talk about project, though, I think it's a better when they've cost maybe less than $1 million. If you're going to lay out 4 million for a guy that the club deems to be a project, that is a big outlay for a guy that might not get that much game time. If they're maybe less than $1 million, I think you can take it more on the chin as a fan, going, well, I understand his role. But when you see the club forking out 4 million, and then this time next year, you're sitting there and he's only played like 11 games for the season, you're wondering what was the point in that? That was an absolute waste of money. So the price tag suggests that he wouldn't be a project, but then again, you just don't know with this club at times. You genuinely don't know what they're going to do. Some of the money that they've paid over the years for players that have barely kicked a ball for us, we've written off a lot of cash at this club.
Yeah, I don't mean to keep bringing up Stephen Ray's comments, but I mean, he's talking a lot of sense. What's a bigger risk, 4 million on a Swiss boy or 6.5 million on Bernardo? That's why Bernardo is a good deal. I don't think there's much dispute. I think Bernardo at 6.5 million is a good deal. I mean, you're supposed to have it both ways, Phil. We're saying that, in today's market, 6.5 million isn't a lot of money for a decent, for a good, decent player. So, if the money on half decent players and good players and exceptional players keeps getting larger, then of course project players' prices are also going to get larger as well, unfortunately. So, yeah, I mean, there's very little actually come out about this boy just yet, and it's early days. So
again, it's silly season, Dave. We're going to get linked to a lot of different names. You know, our name does get used, I think, by a lot of agents and clubs as well to drive up value and push players on and whatnot. So again, it's silly season, transfer merry-go-round. There's going to be lots of random names flying up and whatnot over the next few weeks. So,
and Seamus here has brought up a perfect example, Bernabe. Now, it's funny that you mentioned Bernabe because since arriving on loan, Bernabe has featured just once in 11 matches since he went out on loan.
Missed his debut as well because he missed his flight.
Yeah, I mean,
what a start! What a start! What a Bernabei thing to do.
Yeah, so of course, we paid apparently 3.75 million in 2022 for Bernabei. So yeah, I mean, what else is
most expensive left back we've ever forked out for. Yep, that's more money written off essentially because we ain't going to get that back. No, I don't fit in. By the sounds of it, International are going to pay for him permanently in the winter time when his loan's up. So what do we do with that one?
I mean, in fact, does it also the Swiss lad? Does it also scream a little bit about because here's we'll go back to Paddy Boy's comments saying spend the 10.5 million on both. It's round about the same amount of money that we spent on 2 centre backs that didn't feature much this season either, eh?
Yep. Every signing's got an inherent risk, though. That's fine. With this stage, you just don't know. They could come in, they could be unbelievable, and just sitting here going, "Wow, what a bargain!" And again, like I say, the numerous examples you can point to over the years. But for every Victor Wanyama, there's a Mo Bangura. For every there's so many bad ones. For every Virgil van Dijk, there's an Alessandro Bernabei. For all these good ones that we signed back in the day, it's been kind of counterbalanced. I think I've mentioned that a few times on the show, but somewhere in the middle of the 2010s, it did feel like our scouting, we were on point up to maybe Dyler's time, and then things changed. It went a lot more project orientated, a lot more loan orientated. But Lenny's first spell in charge, some of the stuff we were pulling out there with the transfers was fantastic.
Pato's come in there and said we're Dembele, O'Reilly and Rio projects. That's a fair comment. Dembele came in at 19, I believe, was he not? Was he 19?
He was definitely an under 21 again, yeah.
Yeah.
Very highly rated because of what
he'd done. There's the difference. Yeah. He missed out on a 20 million sale to Tottenham because Fulham wanted to bring him back on loan and Tottenham were not willing to do that. And I'm pretty sure Fulham at the time were they a Premier League club at the
Championship
time?
Championship.
They were a Championship club. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, they were indeed.
Transferring to a Premier League club though. Rio Hatate, again, we knew nothing about Rio Hatate. I think we were completely going on the whole fact that Ange found one guy from Japan that was brilliant, so he had a bit of credit in the bank there with his signing policy. I think we all just have to go in just like accepting that we didn't know anything about any of Ange's signings. O'Reilly, again, a different one. I think Championship player. No, sorry.
League One.
He was
MK Dons with League One.
A League One player who had been, tearing up trees. There was a lot of talk about O'Reilly. He might, he might not be an English league connoisseur, but I think his name did come up a lot in.
It was Fulham's academy. He was at, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was at Fulham's academy.
Yeah,
and he wasn't getting enough game time, so he chose to leave. And they reluctantly let him leave. I don't think they were wanting him to leave, and you can see now why.
Yeah.
I think it's obviously just a bit more difficult to compare when it comes to players playing in a Swiss league, etc., etc. It's a hard one, but it's a fair point that Pat was saying there. Now let's say we do chuck 10 million all in on these two players. I mean, Celtic might be willing to take that risk because it's looking likely that Mickey Johnson will probably leave the club.
Yes.
I imagine Lagerbielke may get to leave the club, even if we can get back the money that we spent on him, which I don't think's out of the question.
What was it, 3 point something million?
Yeah. I mean, a 5-year deal there, so 4 years left of his contract. I'm sure we could probably get that back. Some Italian club will try and get him again. Let's look at the goalkeeping position once again, Phil. This goalkeeping situation is going to be going round and round and round and round and round until we eventually do have a concrete offer on the table. A little article I found today from our good friends at Anfield Index, who are obviously a part of the EPL Index that we are associated with. They put a wee article out today basically discussing that Arne Slot will have to address their goalkeeping situation as well. And and they went through the goalkeepers at the club and whether they should stick or twist or stay, leave permanently or go on loan. And when it came to Kelleher, they believe that it's time for him to move on from Liverpool. This is what they had to say on their article. It says, almost nailed on at this point. It's time for Kelleher to move on. The Irishman has comfortably become one of the safest backup keepers in Europe and has earned the right to be starting games every week, which is something Liverpool unfortunately cannot guarantee. It is believed that, and this is obviously from the Anfield Index, have a bit more stroke at discussing Liverpool than we do. They do believe the fee that Liverpool are wanting is around 20 to 25 million for the 25-year-old, and clubs like Brentford, Nottingham Forest and Celtic all reportedly interested in securing his signature. This could raise some valuable funds to help their reinforcements in the squad find a replacement for Kelleher, because apparently they are also interested in the Feyenoord goalkeeper, which would make sense.
Yeah,
taking the Feyenoord manager. I know we've discussed this boy many times already on the podcast. His name has been said since Joe Hart planned to retire. Like even before then, when we thought maybe in January we could be looking at a new goalkeeper. It's the 25 million price tag, Phil, that really is going to be the big stumbling block. I just can't see it. I can't see it happening. There's talks of 10 million spent on loan with an option to buy. I just can't help but feel like, because of how well he's done in the FA Cup and obviously standing in for Alisson during his injuries, that Kelleher's just become a little bit out of our reach. Even if he does want the move, I just don't think we can. I just don't think it's going to be a one that Celtic will pull the trigger on. I mean, I could totally be wrong. Maybe Celtic will push the boat out and do this deal where it's spend 10 million this season on loan and then with an option to buy next season. But 10 million for a player on loan for one season, Phil, I can't see Celtic doing that either.
No, I can't see them doing that at all. That is the only feasible one, to be fair. Out of the options there, they pay what they're looking for straight up, which I don't see Celtic spending that on one player. There would have to be some kind of loan, some sort of supplement going on from Liverpool with the wages. I could see us definitely signing a goalkeeper from the EPL, but I guess speaks volumes when you're looking at the top teams, you know, your Liverpool's and whatnot, that their second choice keeper can warrant that kind of transfer fee. I think it was actually you that mentioned in the Boise Bus chat when Ederson got injured for Man City and their sub keeper came on, Ortega, and he was like unbelievable. And he's like a second choice keeper that barely plays, and he was fantastic in the game that he came on. Was it the one that won them? What was it, the league or something? Was it the day he won the league title? Or
it's Tottenham. They played against
Tottenham. It was a Tottenham game. That was it. Well, that effectively did win them the title because Tottenham had to take something off them to keep Arsenal in it. But yeah, and you're like, well, that's a guy that sits on the bench most of the time. And that's how good he is. But I could see us signing a keeper from the EPL. But you're talking like a lower down mid-table team, their second choice, that type of level, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, again, I always like to write back to examples. Fraser Foster was playing for obviously Newcastle, second choice keeper there when Newcastle, long before the Saudi money came in there. So, you know, those keepers are out there. Joe Hart was obviously at Tottenham doing, you know, what, third choice keeper, essentially. So they are there to be found. But yeah, when it's quite incredible that, you know, Liverpool's second choice keeper who only plays cup games and the occasional league game when Alisson's injured, that's the type of fee they're looking for. Say Man City second choice got Ortega. What would they be looking for a guy like him when you look at what he's capable of? So yeah, you're looking at probably Wolves, so these types of teams that level. Maybe a keeper there, but I can see us definitely looking in that market. But Kelleher, that's a tall order if that's what they are asking for there. I cannot see Celtic board doing that, unfortunately.
No, and Monty's coming saying shouldn't be bulking at 10 million fee when we have close to 200 million in the bank soon. Kelleher would be your keeper for the next 10 years. I'd do it. The thing is, Monty, 10 million isn't going to get Kelleher. That would get him on loan for a year, is what they're essentially saying. You know, I mean, and I would bulk it paying 10 million because you got to look at value for money as well. You're going to spend 10 million on a player for a year. I can't see that happening. Listen, if 20 million, you're right. Let's say they go, right, we'll give you him for 20 million. and with 100 million in the bank, he's absolutely right. We shouldn't be balking at it. But the other flip of the coin, or the other side of the coin, is if we're buying a goalkeeper at 20 million to play in Scotland, we're not keeping him for 10 years.
No,
we're lucky to keep him for 2 years. Because if he's worth that kind of money, and he has a great couple of seasons at Celtic, I mean, even just look across the road. Let's look at Butland. Now he's not. I mean, he's actually had a fair few mistakes against us, which have cost Rangers games, you could say. But in all accounts, certainly the media will say he's had an excellent season for Rangers, and you could argue that he has, because he probably has won Rangers a few more points than lost them points, and he's going to be away after one season, probably back to a Premier League club. And if we're looking to pay 20 million for a goalkeeper, can you really see us keeping him after one good season? I think we would have him. I think I could see it this way. If say he came in on loan, paid 10 million, but there's no option to buy, right? Has one great season, Brentford sign him next year.
But just training him essentially for another club to benefit from it, so we're developing him. So yeah, there is that. It's a hell of a price, but I know his name's been flying around for a while, and a lot of fans have talked about him. That they they'd like to see him in a Celtic shirt. But yeah, it's going to be a wild one, the goalkeeper situation, because we're very openly in the market for a goalkeeper. I can see our name getting used a lot by mischievous agents and whatnot to get the client's value pushed up, because it's public knowledge, very public knowledge, that we are in the market. So yeah, I can see a lot of different goalie names getting linked with us. Obviously last week it was Cohen Casteels at this point in time, and now he's off to Saudi Arabia. So yeah, that's apparently that's a goer. So that one's gone now. But I fully expect there to be a lot more goalkeeper names to come up over the next couple of weeks or few weeks, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I also want to add to your point here is, because clubs know that we're looking for a goalkeeper, then the prices are just naturally going to go up as well, because they know that we need one.
True.
Paddy Boy's saying, I've got a Fenerbahce fan pissing himself laughing at me about that Man United goalkeeper. Good luck, he said. Yeah, Connor Carr put his name in our group chat. He put one of the articles in a couple of days ago, and I said no thanks. The reason for that, and it's just basing on the optics of the fact that he came into Man United to basically be the bench warmer that replaced Jack Butland at 26 years old. And yeah, it's Man United, and I suppose every young football player dreams of playing for clubs like Man United. But I just can't help but feel like we've picked it. We're essentially being linked with a guy that was brought in to replace the guy at Rangers, and I just think Butland's probably a better option. I think Butland would have been a better option than him.
Well, I think that article got rubbished anyway, didn't it? I think it'd been circulating for a while and only got picked up recently. It'd actually been put out a while ago, and I saw a few days later, apparently both Celtic and Man United had sort of distanced themselves from it. It was one of these media outlets in Turkey had done the article originally, and it was about 4 or 5 weeks ago. It was just kind of sitting there, but suddenly somebody picked up on it, and it began going viral. But it seems like it's a no-goer. But yeah, again, I fully expect to see it's a carousel right now of goalkeepers. Just a whole bunch of names and a big tombola. Just pick them out. Each day will be a different one. Oh, who's it today? Oh, linked with him. Okay, so just hope to God it's not Scott Bain or anybody starting the season in goal. To any with him or Benjamin Siegrist starting the season in goal. It'll need to be somebody signed, no doubt, over the next couple of months.
Do you think the Siegrist deal, that's an odd one, that one, I think. It really didn't. I really didn't see it going the way that it's went. Like, I didn't see him ever taking Joe Hart's gloves off him, but I didn't really see him falling behind the pecking order of Scott Bain. Like, I just didn't see that one coming at all, Phil. And I just do feel like if we are going to look at more talent in our own league, we have to start really being a bit more savvy with the signings. Because, I mean, I'll be honest, I'll put my hands up. I really was hoping we'd sign Siegrist, but I'm basing it off, again, just a couple of good performances I've seen him play against us.
Yeah.
And I hope if Celtic are looking at players in our own league, it's more to do with there's real talent there that can actually improve our starting lineup and not just a case of weakening somebody, weakening an opponent in our league, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the Siegrist thing, one of the things I found interesting with the timing of it was it came just days before, at the time, Rangers, who were very publicly looking for a new goalkeeper, renewed the contract of Alan McGregor, who was meant to retire at the end of the 2022 season. He even got a big send-off in the Scottish Cup final. They brought him on as a sub with minutes to go so he could get a standing ovation. And then he had to renew his contract for another year. And there was a lot of speculation that Siegrist was garnering interest from both Celtic and Rangers. So I wonder if we literally signed him just to stop Rangers from getting him. Wouldn't be the first time that's happened. The rumours were Scott Allen was signed on that basis as well. Remember him? But yeah, it's not like well. I mean, I thought Siegrist as well would have been at least competent enough to do the whole cup goalkeeper thing, and we did begin doing that initially. Remember under Andrick, he played against Ross County and Motherwell. I think he played 2 rounds in the League Cup in the first half of that season, and then the second half of the season we played Kelly in the semi-final, and he was out of that one. He didn't play in the final, didn't play in the Scottish Cup games, and yeah, he's not played a single game since. I think he's made an appearance in a friendly last summer. And that was it, really. Interesting, the body language experts coming out, but obviously during the title celebrations, he was front and centre in a lot of the title celebrations. Usually a player that's that frozen out, they usually just kind of like walk around the park moping away, not too interested. He was, all these selfies that are doing the rounds, like Joe Hart taking selfies with all the team, he's right in the middle of it and people loving it. And I was like, wow, that's a guy that's pretty happy to just turn up and pick up his wage every single week, it seems. So if he's desperate to play football week in, week out, which you would think at his age he'd still want to be doing, he ain't showing it anyway, because he looked pretty happy during all the title celebrations, which he contributed absolutely no minutes to at all.
No, I know. Like he kind of was kind of feel like, really? Like he actually gets to be even involved in that? Like I think he's done just as much as I did in that season. Where's my medal?
Nothing will ever top, though. I think it was 2018 or 2019, the title day. Marvin Compere, when he got his medal, it was one of the loudest cheers at Celtic Park on Trophy Day when Marvin Compere went swaggering up to get his winner's medal. Fantastic! What a man! What a hero!
Full kit and everything. Just full John Terry.
Oh yeah.
So speaking of players that don't tend to contribute much to Celtic winning trophies, another forgotten man would be Marco Tilio.
Oh Jesus! I forget about him till you mentioned him.
I know you forgot. 67 hail. They put out an article today basically saying that it's not gone well for him back in his homeland on loan either. Injuries after injuries. He only made 6 appearances, scoring once against Sydney FC. Yeah, not looking good for him either. He was asked why he felt that his career at Celtic has not gone the way he'd hoped, and he's put it down to the fact he got injured. Obviously, went away with the under-23s Australian national side. I think there's probably a lot more to do with it than just that. Can't see him getting anywhere near our starting lineup. Never mind the subs bench. Never mind the starting 11. Phil, I think he'll be just shipped out on loan again. I think it's just another signing that really just we're not going to see much of at all. I think we'll see him back out on loan, probably still out in Australia, where he's probably much more happy to be at.
Yeah, definitely. That one, as you say, till you mentioned him there, I genuinely forgot about him. But yeah, it's quite unfortunate for him. I can remember the one and only. I think he's had like 2 appearances. One of them was a game against Motherwell that we drew at Celtic Park around about Christmas time. And it was one of these desperate situations where there was a few games this season that became quite desperate like that, where we'd lost quite a late goal in the game. But the referee had added about 7 minutes stoppage time, and he get thrown on essentially for the stoppage time after Motherwell had equalised in, say, the 89th minute. And it's like, well, the boys don't kick the ball yet. If I remember it as well, Brendan Rodgers had said he didn't really plan on using them, but he found himself in a situation where Motherwell have just equalised late on, we need a goal, so he just threw him on there. So you couldn't really judge much of him. I felt when he got on the ball, he was actually quite direct, which is what we needed at that point in time, but nothing was coming off for him because, again, Motherwell got them, they had the momentum, their tails were up, they get that goal, all they're going to do is batten down the hatches and just shut us down, and obviously they got their point that day, and I feel like he made another sub-appearance no long after that, but that was it. But yeah, when he gets sent back to Australia on loan, I thought that was quite a ringing endorsement of where he is, because again, at the time it was like, well, how can you really judge him? He's been injured, he's only played a couple of sub-appearances. One of them was he was thrown in at the deep end because it was like, right, you get on and try and bail us out here. How can that really be fair for the lad? But yeah, go by what you've said there. It looks like even going back to, obviously, Australia, where he was doing really well beforehand, he hasn't done very well this time around. So that kind of speaks volumes of where he's at right now. Oh, you muted yourself as well, David.
Wow, amateur hour over here. It just really lightweight, Tilio. Like, I don't want to bash on him too much in terms of, like, obviously stature, he can't help him. Obviously his size, but like he doesn't have that physical presence to really even deal with just average players in our league. He just looked like a little boy. I mean, another example of a player similar to that, maybe a bit more talent, perhaps, was Yang in Europe. Like, just looked so out of his depth.
Yeah,
physically, like, you can get away with it if you're an unbelievable football player. Like, but when you're quite limited, I think they were just wee boy. They were just proper wee boy. They just bullied by much more physical athletes. Just both, I feel, just a little bit out of their depth. Yang may get another crack of the whip this year because it looked like to me anyway, Phil, that Rodgers sees someone in Yang. He certainly was giving him more chances than perhaps other managers would. Maybe Brendan feels he can work his magic, and there is a player there. I think Yang certainly does need to work on some of the basics and perhaps maybe the physical side of his game as well. And he may get another chance. But I certainly feel like another right winger needs to come in, Phil, to give James Forrest a bit of competition next year.
Here we go. Came full circle. James Forrest back being the number one choice. Best winger of the club, though, keep in mind. The thing with Yang that confuses me is this is a guy who Brendan Rodgers very clearly, even though he didn't use his name, there was that game at McDermott Park just before Christmas time where we did win in the end, but it was an absolute slog. And Yang got hooked off at half time, if I'm right. The first half, I think he got caught offside about 4 or 5 times. And every time it wasn't even like borderline offside. He was like 3-4 yards each time. He was like, his awareness of his position was just so bad. I remember Brendan Rodgers' interview after the game. He talked about one at half time, it was the angriest he'd ever been. But without naming any names, he dropped some hints about some players that shouldn't be at this club or aren't cutting it. And he was clearly referring to Yang because of what he described in the performance. But then Yang, of course, ended up still getting some game time. So I don't know if it was, well, obviously we had a lot of injuries as well. And we did do a bit of a magical roundabout at times with some of our positions where we just rotated and rotated. Somebody had a few good games. They stayed in the team for a while. Then they had a stinker. They were taken out. That's what Lewis Palmer did for most of the season. He was in that boat, definitely. So Yang, I think he'll still be here next season, but I think he'll be definitely down the pecking order. It'll be one of these ones that he'll get used if absolutely necessary. Then maybe in January, if he still hasn't had much game time, it'll be like we'll loan him back. Probably a move back to his homeland seems the most likely there. But I agree with what you're saying. I think Brendan can see something there, but he's very frustrated by him, as proved by that day at McDermott Park. But yeah, I could see him still being around, but definitely nowhere near first choice anyway. He'll be one of these ones that only if, break glass in an emergency situation, only use him if absolutely necessary. So yeah, I can see maybe getting to January and it might be a case of, right, he's not had much game time, send him back to career on a loan deal.
Yeah, I definitely think somebody brought in the chat they made a good point that perhaps these guys still have a bit of credit in the bank with clubs from their own countries that they obviously feel like would do a job. And it's one of those ones where I'm like, is it worth just sending them back on loan there and just letting them get some game time and develop? Because like the other question that was brought up is who's going to sign these guys? So, and obviously the other option is to send them out on loan to clubs in our own league. Quan's a perfect example. Like, I can't say I kept up to date with how the rest of his season went at St Mirren, but he certainly had a good start to his loan spell. Somebody in the chat might be able to educate me on whether he managed to keep that going or he found himself fizzling out of the team or not. I'm honestly not sure, but it certainly did him the world of good going out on loan. Got him off the not off the wages, but it certainly got him out of the door for a while to let him concentrate on his football and develop, playing in the league where he was paid to play in. So, I mean, it's worked wonders in the past. Ryan Christie, Christopher Ayer is probably an even better example, obviously coming from a foreign league. So I could see, again, maybe perhaps Yang could find himself out on loan. Maybe St Mirren will say, hey, we'll take him as well. Give us Quan back and we'll take Yang as well.
Walker saying in the chat here that Quan didn't keep it going. Because I do remember the initial first few weeks, he became like the best player in from South Korea. He was unbelievable. People were absolutely raving about him. But then, I think it might have been an injury or something, maybe slowed him down a wee bit. But I mean, he's obviously contributed to St Mirren's season. They had a really good season by their accounts. What did they finish? 5th in the end, was it? So that's good for St Mirren. So I think fair play, he's contributed in a way. But maybe Quan will end up back there for another year, because I just feel like I just think, I know he's done okay at St Mirren, but I don't think that he's got a long-term plan. It's one of these ones, we've made that signing, and very quickly Brendan Rodgers has decided that that's boy ain't for me. And it's just been a case. I don't think we've loaned him to St Mirren with any long-term plan, put it that way. I think when Ayer got loaned out, it was right. We've got a vision of what we want Ayer to be. They even made Kilmarnock play him as a centre-back, because Ayer was a centre midfielder when we signed him. He was then converted to centre-back. He played there at Kilmarnock, so that when he came back to the Celtic team, he slotted in as a centre-back. I just think with Quan, it's just like we've loaned him there. He's had an all-right spell, which seems to be just, it's just the way it went, but I don't think there's a long-term vision with Quan.
No, I don't think so. I think.
And I agree with Smell the Glove says there. I said that, I said that last year in Sunday 2023. I had this feeling that out of the Far East players we've got, I can see the Korean ones all being out the door within like a year. So I can see that as well, because O is of course the other one. I think his race is definitely run.
Oh yeah, I think he's absolutely, he's done. Just the fact that he didn't feature at all from the minute that Ida walked in the door.
Yeah.
And that's got, I don't even think that had anything to do with Ida's performances, because Ida had a couple of fans. Terry, he'll put his hand up and say that he was not convinced with Ida for the first 3-4 games. Maybe too much, but 2 or 3 games. We didn't see O from the minute he walked in the door. And I don't think it had anything to do with Ida's performances. I just think the fact that Rodgers was like, right, cool, we don't need you anymore. I've got my second striker out. I'd rather use him. So I think O's away. Again, where, I don't know who buys these players. I think what I will say though, if you're a stat guy, and there'll be plenty of scouts that will look at the stats and say, well, O scored X amount of goals per minute. He certainly can do a job for this team. I think his agent will probably get him over somewhere. Just don't see it. I just don't see him sticking around at Celtic much longer.
Yeah, definitely.
But so Phil, we've gone 50 minutes. We've kind of came to the end of this week's silly season blethering. We shall commence this again next week. I'm sure there'll be more goalkeepers and more players being linked away and linked coming in. So we'll obviously be back on next Tuesday to talk all about that. But we thank everyone that joined us this evening. A wee bit later than we planned, but listen, it's the Boise bus. You're all on board now. You'll understand how it works.
If they hit the subscribe button and hit that bell notification, they'll know when the bus is on the road, because it'll tell them, it'll notify them. So
yeah, it's been a good chat, Phil. Just nice and easy, nice wee chill talking about
A dignified Tuesday blader. That's what we do. Dignified Tuesday blader, man. No, yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, of course, all your other favourite shows will probably be back this week. The problem that we do have, though, Phil, quickly, is the content is becoming limited because of obviously the lack of game times. But never fear, Phil is here. He's got the Scottish Euros performances to discuss when they come around. I'm sure we can. Yeah. There'll be plenty of other things to talk about as well.
I believe the Scotland games are the Friday night, the 14th, the first one. The second game's the Tuesday night against Switzerland, and the next Sunday, we play Hungary in the final group game. Hopefully, Scotland have got more than 3 games, but yeah, I do plan on doing some PMPs for them and another few shows about it, because there's going to be, I think, 4 Celtic players as it stands right now, because a few more injuries have dropped out of the Scotland squad. Ben Doak has dropped out tonight, which is a bit unfortunate for him. I was kind of excited to see him go. I thought it would be a great opportunity for the lad.
He's out, is he? Jeez.
Tommy Conway has been drafted in, Bristol City striker. He scored 10 goals, I think, in last season, but striker options are pretty few and far between for Scotland right now. But it does please me, though, that Ollie McBurney's name just doesn't get mentioned at all, because he is absolutely pish. So thank God he isn't getting mentioned at all. But it seems like Tommy Conway's been brought in. But yeah, we'll be doing some concentrating on that. See how Callum McGregor, Tony Ralston, James Forrest and Greg Taylor do out in Germany. We'll be keeping our eyes on that over the course of the tournament as well.
And obviously, I will quickly mention, of course, Adamida did score for Ireland tonight. We talked about him last week, and I thought I'll give him a wee miss this week, because at the minute it does look like he's staying, but you never know. Staying at Norwich, should I say? But you never know. The stories will rumble on next week, and hopefully we'll have more to discuss on Adamida. But good for him for scoring another international goal for him tonight, and can only help us if we can get
up the road. Adam scores some more goals for us, mate. That's what you want to do. Up the road.
Norwich.
Come on, Adam. You know you want to do it. You know.
Come on. Anyway, we'll see you next week, guys. Thanks for joining us. Take care.
Yep. Catch you later, guys. See you.